Welcome, everyone. Today, I want you to sit down, take a deep breath, and listen carefully because this might be the most important English learning video you ever watch. I am not saying this to sound dramatic or to make you stay. I am saying this because what I'm about to share with you is the exact truth about why so many people study English for years and years and still cannot speak fluently. Have you ever felt like this? You've learned grammar rules, memorized vocabulary lists, studied tenses, done hundreds of exercises. But when it's time to actually speak, your brain freezes. You feel nervous, your sentences come out broken, and you think, what's wrong with me? Why can't I speak even after all this studying? I know that pain because I lived it. For years, I believed the only way to become fluent in English was to master grammar. I believed I needed to know every rule, every tense, every little detail of English before I could speak. But the more grammar I studied, the more confused I became. I could pass written tests, but I could not hold even a simple conversation without panicking. And then, one day, I decided to stop. I completely stopped studying grammar. It was not easy. I felt scared. I thought my English would get worse. But what happened next changed my life forever. My English fluency improved in a way I never imagined. I was finally able to speak confidently and naturally. And that is exactly what I'm going to teach you today. This is not just another video with basic tips. This is a step-by-step journey where I will show you 1. Why grammar can actually destroy your confidence if you're not careful. 2. How I finally stopped overthinking and started speaking freely. 3. The exact daily routine I built at home without any teacher or classes. 4. How I trained my brain and mouth to think and speak in English naturally. 5. How I corrected my pronunciation without moving abroad. 6. How I killed the fear of speaking in front of others forever. And by the end of this video, you will know how to do the same. You will understand that you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know all the grammar, and you definitely don't need expensive courses to become fluent. What you truly need is the right system, the right daily habits, and the courage to use the English you already know. I promise you something. If you watch this entire video carefully and follow the steps I give you, your English will never be the same again. This is not theory. These are things I have lived, tested, and proved. So please stay with me until the end because every single part of this journey is important. Skip even one part, and you might miss the breakthrough you need. Now let us begin this journey from the very beginning. Let me take you back to the time when I was struggling the most, so you can see how everything changed. Part 1. The truth about grammar. Why I was still not fluent. I still remember the day very clearly. I was sitting in a cafe waiting for a friend. The waiter came to my table and asked a very simple question. What would you like to have? That was it. Just 5 simple words. But do you know what happened? My heart started beating fast, my hands became sweaty, and my mind went completely blank. I could not answer. I wanted to say, just a coffee, please, but my brain started running through grammar rules. Should I say, I will have, or I would like? Which is correct? What tense should I use? And by the time I was ready to speak, the waiter had already walked away to serve another table. I felt humiliated. That day, I realized something very important. I knew so much grammar, yet I could not say a single fluent sentence when I needed it the most. And this was not the first time. It had been happening for years. Every time I had to speak, my brain became a grammar calculator. Instead of focusing on the person I was talking to, I was busy checking if my sentence structure was perfect. This constant overthinking killed my confidence. Does this sound familiar to you? If you're watching this, I'm sure you have felt the same. You know the rules, you can write well, but when it's time to speak, you freeze. And you think, maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe I need to study more grammar. But here is the truth. Studying more grammar will not solve this problem. In fact, it will make it worse. Why? Because grammar is designed for writing, not for speaking. When you write, you have time. You can think, erase, rewrite, and make corrections. But when you speak, you have just seconds to express yourself. There is no time to think about subject-verb agreement, prepositions, and perfect tenses. If you keep depending on grammar, your brain will always be one step behind, and your mouth will remain silent. I learned this the hard way. I wasted years of my life thinking grammar was the key to fluency. I studied every tense in English: present, past, future, perfect, continuous. I did hundreds of exercises. I memorized long lists of rules. And yes, my test scores improved. I could pass written exams. But when I met someone in real life who asked me a question in English, I panicked. I was so afraid of making mistakes that I preferred to stay quiet. And here is another painful truth. Focusing too much on grammar makes you feel like you are never good enough. You always feel there's more to learn, more rules to master. You become a student forever. But fluency doesn't come from perfection. It comes from using the English you already know, even if it's not perfect. I will give you an example. Imagine a child learning to speak. Do they wait until they know all the grammar rules before they start talking? No, they just speak. They make mistakes, they mispronounce words, but they keep talking. And because they keep talking, they improve very quickly. But we adults do the opposite. We want everything to be correct before we speak, so we stay silent. And silence kills fluency. The day I understood this, everything changed. I realized that grammar was not my problem. My fear of making mistakes was. And that fear came from thinking grammar was more important than communication. But English is a language, not a school exam. Its purpose is to connect people, not to show off how perfect you are. In this part, I want you to understand this deeply. You do not need to master grammar to speak English fluently. Yes, grammar has its place. It is useful for writing, for advanced learning. But for speaking, the key is confidence and practice, not perfection. If you wait to become perfect, you will never speak. So here is your first lesson from my journey. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop waiting to learn every rule before you speak. Stop letting grammar control your brain every time you open your mouth. Instead, focus on expressing yourself with the words and sentences you already know. Even if it's broken English, even if you make mistakes, just speak. Because every time you speak, you get one step closer to fluency. That night, after I sat silently in the cafe, too scared to speak a simple sentence, I walked home feeling completely broken. I remember looking at my bookshelf filled with English grammar books, thick, colorful, filled with notes and bookmarks. They were supposed to make me fluent. I had trusted them. I had spent hours and months with them. But they didn't help me when I needed them the most. I stood there staring at these books and asked myself a difficult question. If grammar was the answer, why am I still afraid to speak? It was a painful realization, But I was finally honest with myself. I wasn't learning how to speak. I was learning how to stay stuck. I had become an expert at rules, but a beginner at conversation. I could explain the present perfect tense, but couldn't order coffee without fear. And then, I made the boldest decision of my life. I packed all my grammar books and notebooks into a cardboard box and put them in the storage. Not because I was angry, but because I needed to start fresh. I needed to stop treating English like a school subject and start treating it like a living, breathing language. I needed to stop memorizing and start communicating. That moment changed everything. It was not just the end of studying grammar. It was the beginning of learning English in a completely different way. And that new way started with realization that fluency is not something you study. It's something you build, feel, and practice every single day. So what did I do instead? What replaced grammar in my life? Let me walk you through the real methods I started using in step by step that finally made me fluent in English. I started speaking to myself, daily, honestly, without fear. Yes, I know how strange it sounds, but I began talking to myself, in my room, in the mirror, while walking, even before sleeping. I started by saying simple things like, I am brushing my teeth. I am going to cook now. This shirt is blue. I'm feeling tired. And slowly I added more. What did I do today? What do I want to achieve this week? Why am I afraid to speak? I didn't care about making mistakes. I just kept talking. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. When you speak to yourself, you remove the fear of judgment. There's no teacher to correct you, no friend to laugh at your mistakes. It's just you, training your mouth to move, training your mind to build sentences naturally. In just a few weeks, my thinking started changing. I no longer had to translate every sentence from my native language to English. I could think directly in English. That was the first time I felt real progress. I started listening like a child, not studying like a student. Instead of learning rules, I started listening, a lot, but not just passively. I listened like my life depended on it. I picked short videos, real conversations, interviews, daily talk, and I listened to how native speakers spoke. Not what they said, but how they said it. The tone, the rhythm, the pauses, the phrases they used. Then I copied them. I would pause the video, repeat the same sentence out loud, try to match their pronunciation, speed, and tone. Example, they said, I'm gonna grab some coffee, you want anything? I paused and said, I'm gonna grab some coffee, you want anything? Again and again, until it became natural. This is called shadowing, and it became my most powerful practice tool. I wasn't learning grammar, I was learning the music of English. And music is what makes language come alive. I made mistakes. Proudly. I used to be ashamed of making mistakes. I would stay quiet just to avoid sounding stupid. But I realized something powerful. Fluent people are not people who never make mistakes. They're people who speak anyway. Mistakes and all. So I made a rule for myself. Speak even if it's wrong. Don't stop. Just say it. And something magical happened. I realized that people didn't laugh at me. They understood me. They appreciated my effort. They responded. And the more I spoke, the better I became. Mistakes were no longer monsters. They became my teachers. Every time I said something wrong, I learned something new. I created a real-life English environment at home. I turned my home into an English zone. I changed my phone language to English. I labeled things in my room. My toothpaste said toothpaste. My mirror had a sticky note. Speak English here. I started doing daily activities while talking in English. I'm cooking pasta today. Let's clean the table. This movie looks interesting. English became part of my life, not just my study time. And the more I lived with English, the less I feared it. It stopped feeling like a subject. It started feeling like a friend. I focused on real sentences, not grammar rules. Instead of studying future perfect tense, I learned useful phrases. I'm planning to. I might go to. Have you ever? It's been a while since. Do you wanna? I collected 3 to 5 useful phrases every week and used them in my daily talk. Over time, I built a huge library of real, natural English. Not rules, not formulas, just real speech. I replaced grammar study time with speaking practice time. I used to study grammar for 30 minutes every day. After I stopped, I used that same time to practice speaking. I used a simple method. 10 minutes, mirror talk. 10 minutes, shadowing a video. 10 minutes, talking about my day out loud. That was it. No books, no exercises, just mouth plus voice plus confidence. And after 30 days of this, I could speak. Not perfectly, but confidently, naturally, fluently. What happened after that? People started noticing the difference. They said, "Your English sounds so natural now. What course are you taking?" And I smiled because the truth was, I wasn't taking any course. I had just stopped doing what didn't work and started doing what actually builds fluency. I wasn't chasing perfection anymore. I was living the language. I was using it every day. And that made all the difference. Part 2. How I built my own English routine at home. No classes. After I stopped studying grammar and began speaking freely using real-life methods, I realized something very important. Consistency creates fluency. Not knowledge, not motivation, not grammar books, just small, daily, repeated speaking actions, over and over again. But I had a problem. I had no teacher, no class, no partner to talk with, no one correcting me. I was all alone in my learning journey. So I had to create my own English learning system. A simple but powerful daily routine that I could follow every single day from home. And I did. That routine became the foundation of my fluency. That routine gave me control, structure, discipline, and eventually, confidence. Now I'm going to give you every detail of that exact routine. The same one that helped me go from silent and stuck to fluent and confident. You don't need to follow thousands of tips or try random methods. You just need to build a simple routine that touches the right parts of fluency. And I'll show you exactly how. Let's begin. Speak first, not last. Start the day in English. Time, 10 minutes. The first thing I changed was how I started my day. Most people wake up, check their phone, scroll social media, think in their native language, and then maybe try some English hours later. But I did the opposite. The moment I woke up, before checking anything, I did this. I sat up on my bed, looked around, and started talking out loud in English about whatever was in front of me. Example: okay, today is Monday. I have to do some laundry. The weather looks good. I should go for a walk. My body feels tired, but my mind is ready. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was just making my mouth move. Why? Because when you speak first thing in the morning, you train your brain to think in English for the rest of the day. Your brain becomes what you feed it in the first 10 minutes of the day. This single habit transformed my confidence. I no longer felt like English was something extra. It became my default mode, the way I began my day. Mirror talk practice. Train your mouth to move smoothly. Time, 15 minutes. After I brushed my teeth and got ready, I stood in front of the mirror. This was one of the most powerful exercises I ever discovered, and I did it every day. Here's how it worked. I looked into my own eyes and began speaking to myself like I was in a conversation. Example. Hey, how are you feeling today? What's your plan for the morning? Are you still afraid to speak English? Why? Let's try to get better today. Come on, you've got this. It felt strange at first, talking to myself like this. But then I realized I was building a relationship with the most important person in my learning journey, myself. I would talk about real things, what I was feeling, what I was worried about, what I wanted to achieve. This taught me 3 things. 1. How to build fluent sentences. 2. How to express real emotions in English. 3. How to stop judging myself. Mirror Talk gave me freedom, expression, and emotional fluency. The kind of fluency you need in real life, not in grammar books. 5 real sentences a day. Daily speaking fuel. Time, 10 minutes. Each day, I picked 5 real-life sentences that I could use in conversations. I found them from YouTube videos, podcasts, real dialogues, not from textbooks. Example sentences I used. Can I get a black coffee, please? I've been meaning to call you. Let me think about it. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. It's been a long day. I didn't just read them. I spoke them out loud, again and again, slowly and clearly. I said them while walking, while cooking, while looking in the mirror. Why? Because this creates muscle memory in your mouth. You don't think, your mouth just knows. Over time, those 5 sentences became part of my natural speech. Imagine if you learned just 5 useful sentences per day. That's 150 per month. Over 1,800 per year. That's fluency. Shadowing with real English. Copy the sound of fluency. Time, 15 minutes. This was one of my most powerful tools. Each day, I selected a 1 to 2 minute clip of a real native speaker speaking English. It could be from a short YouTube vlog, a scene from a movie or show, a motivational speech, an interview. And then I used the shadowing method. I listened to one sentence, paused, repeated the sentence aloud, copying the pronunciation, rhythm, and emotion. Repeated again, until it felt natural. I didn't care if I understood every word. My goal was sound, tone, and fluency. This trained my ears to recognize natural English. It trained my mouth to follow that rhythm. It made my speech sound more confident and less robotic. After just a few weeks, I noticed I was no longer speaking like a textbook. I was speaking like a real human being. End-of-day reflection in English. Build your voice. Time, 10 minutes. At the end of each day, before sleeping, I would take out my phone, open the voice recorder, and talk for 2 to 3 minutes about my day. In English. Example. Today was a good day. I went to the market and spoke a few sentences in English. I also learned 5 new phrases. I feel like I'm improving slowly. I still hesitate, but I'm proud I spoke today. I didn't share these recordings with anyone. They were for me, my own daily report, my own progress journal. Every week I would listen to one of the old recordings, and I could hear the improvement. This habit gave me proof that I was growing, and that proof gave me motivation to continue. Sticky notes around the house. I put English words on objects: mirror, door, fridge, light switch. So English was always around me. Talk to Google Assistant or Siri in English. It sounds silly, but practicing basic questions like, "What's the weather today?" built my speaking confidence in real-world situations. Internal dialogue. I trained myself to think in English during daily tasks. For example, I need to boil the water. Then I'll add the tea. Where's the sugar? Every second of my day became an opportunity to live in English. Why this routine worked? Because it covered every part of fluency: speaking, listening, thinking, emotional expression, real-life usage. And it didn't require a teacher, a class, a grammar book, a perfect environment. It only required my mouth, my mind, and my commitment. And the truth is, that's all you need. Part 3. How I fixed my pronunciation without any teacher. After I created my home routine and started speaking to myself daily, I felt more confident. My words were flowing. My fear was reducing. But there was one problem still bothering me deeply: my pronunciation. Even though I could now speak more freely, I often heard myself sounding robotic, flat, or awkward. My accent felt heavy. My speech didn't sound natural. And every time I listened to native speakers, I felt like I was still far behind. I wasn't looking to sound like a British or American actor. That wasn't my goal. But I wanted to speak clearly, smoothly, and naturally, in a way that other people could easily understand me, and I could feel proud of my voice. The problem was, I had no teacher to guide me, no pronunciation coach, no phonetic chart, just me, my voice, and a deep desire to improve. And so I decided once again to build my own method. A simple, powerful system that helped me fix my pronunciation completely from home. Step by step. This system became a game changer. And now I'm going to give you everything I did. No secrets, no shortcuts, just pure, real methods that actually work. Let's begin. The day I heard my own voice, and it hurt. The first time I recorded my voice in English and listened back, I felt disappointed. I sounded different than I imagined. My words were slow. Some sounds were hard to understand. My R was too strong. My th was missing. I was not clear. But that moment became my turning point. Because the truth is, you can't improve what you don't hear. You may speak every day, but if you never listen to yourself, you'll never know how you actually sound to others. So I made a new daily rule. Record, listen, improve, repeat. Every night, I opened my voice recorder, spoke for 1 minute about my day, and then I listened, not to judge myself, but to fix myself. I asked, did I say the words clearly? Was my voice too flat? Did I say thing or did I say sing? Am I missing syllables? This daily habit built my self-awareness. And that self-awareness gave me the power to start changing my sound. Choose one sound. Fix one sound. English has many sounds that don't exist in other languages. For example, the as in think, V as in voice, R as in write, W as in water, Z as in zoo. I made the mistake at first of trying to fix everything at once, but that only created confusion. So instead, I followed a simple rule. Fix one sound at a time. Each week, I chose one sound that I knew I was pronouncing incorrectly or unclearly. Let's say I started with thiat. Most people say tink instead of think or dis instead of this. So for 7 days, I focused only on that one sound. I practiced think, thought, thank you, this, that, these, those. I watched my tongue in the mirror. I placed it between my teeth gently and let the air flow. I exaggerated the sound like a child learning to speak. It felt funny, but it worked. After a week, I moved to the next sound. Step by step, sound by sound, my pronunciation started getting cleaner and more natural. Shadowing with a twist. The echo method. You already know about shadowing, listening to native English and copying them immediately after they speak. But I created my own version of it, the echo method, and it completely transformed my speaking style. Here's how it works. Play a short video or audio of a native speaker, 10 to 15 seconds only. Listen carefully once. Don't speak yet. Play it again. This time, pause after every sentence. Now repeat the sentence out loud. Not just the words, but the speed, tone, energy, and emotion. But here's the twist. Repeat that same 15-second clip 10 times. Every day for 7 days. Why? Because repetition builds fluency deep in your muscle memory. Just like a song you hear every day becomes automatic, the same happens with speech. I remember shadowing a short 12-second scene from a movie. I repeated it 70 times in 1 week. After that, those words became part of me. I didn't have to think, they just came out. This method helped me copy not just the words, but the feel of natural English, the power of pausing and linking. One of the biggest reasons people sound robotic is because they speak English word by word. For example, I am going to the market today. But fluent speakers don't speak like that. They use linking, joining words together, and pausing naturally, not mechanically. Here's what I did. I selected short dialogues and listened carefully for where they paused, which words were linked. Example. Instead of I am going to eat it, they say, I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat it. 4 words become one smooth phrase. I started repeating these exact connected chunks. Wanna go? Give me that. Let me see. Did you eat it? Did you eat it? This changed the rhythm of my speaking. I began to sound less like a textbook and more like a person. To practice, I would read short dialogues aloud, but I didn't focus on grammar or correctness. I focused only on flow, smoothness, like music. Mouth training. Like a singer, not a student. Think about a singer. They don't just know the lyrics. They train their mouth to move in a certain way. Fluent speaking is exactly the same. So I created a short mouth warm-up every morning. Open my mouth wide and speak slow English. Stretch my lips with exaggerated sounds. Practice th, s, shish, r, and v while watching my lips. For example, 33 thirsty thieves threw thick things. Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. She sells seashells on the seashore. These are called tongue twisters, and I practiced them slowly, not fast. Why? Because slow builds control, and control builds clarity. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was training my speaking muscles, just like an athlete trains before a game. I spoke like no one was watching. One of the biggest fears people have while practicing pronunciation is looking silly or sounding strange. But the truth is, when you are learning something new, you will sound strange at first. That's normal. That's necessary. So I gave myself permission to speak as freely and as loudly as I needed, even if I looked silly. I practiced while walking, while cooking, while standing in the shower. I didn't care if someone heard me. Why? Because the goal was not to sound perfect. The goal was to become fluent enough that I didn't need to think anymore. This freedom allowed my real voice to rise, my natural sound, my natural tone. And that's when real fluency began. I trained with silence. Yes, silence. After I practiced speaking and listening every day, I also trained my brain to hear the music of English in silence. I would sit for 5 minutes, close my eyes, and imagine a conversation in English. I didn't move my lips. I just heard the words in my mind, the pronunciation, the rhythm, the feeling. Why is this powerful? Because thinking is where fluency begins. If your brain hears fluent English, your mouth will soon follow. But if your brain only hears broken, hesitant English, that's what your mouth will produce. So I trained my thoughts. I rehearsed full conversations silently before I said them aloud. This built mental fluency. And mental fluency becomes verbal fluency. No teacher, no phonetic chart, no feedback from anyone. Just daily habits, repetition, self-recording, shadowing, mouth warm-ups, and thought training. And the result? People stopped saying, "Your English is good." They started saying, "Your English sounds natural." That was the moment I knew. I had crossed the line between being a learner and becoming a confident communicator. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. You need to be clear, natural, and confident. Part 4. How I finally spoke English without fear. The truth is, fear doesn't go away just because you learn more English. In fact, sometimes it gets worse. The more you learn, the more you feel pressure to be perfect. You start thinking, what if I say something wrong? What if they laugh at me? What if I look stupid in front of people? And slowly, you speak less and less, even though you know more than ever before. That's what happened to me. Even after practicing every day, even after improving my pronunciation, even after building strong vocabulary and sentence patterns, I was still afraid to speak in front of people. I could talk to myself. I could record my voice. I could speak to a mirror. But when it came to real people, strangers, shopkeepers, professionals, I froze. My tongue became heavy, my heart raced. And worst of all, I stayed silent. I remember one day I went to a bookstore and the person at the counter asked me, "Can I help you find something?" I had practiced English for months. I had the perfect sentence in my head. Yes, I'm looking for a book on psychology. But I didn't say it. I just smiled, shook my head, and said, "No, thank you." Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I was afraid of how I would say it. And when I walked out of that store, I didn't feel proud. I felt ashamed. I felt like I had let myself down. I realized something very painful in that moment. Fluency is not just about your mouth. It's about your mind. It's not just about vocabulary. It's about belief. It's not just about words. It's about courage. That was the moment I decided to not just speak better, but to become braver. And now I'm going to tell you exactly how I did that. In real, practical, and emotional steps. I stopped chasing perfection. I started chasing expression. The first thing I changed was my goal. Before, I was trying to sound perfect, correct grammar, clear pronunciation, complete sentences. But that goal created fear, because perfection is a mountain with no top. You never feel ready. So I changed my focus. Instead of trying to be perfect, I asked myself, can I express what I'm feeling right now, even if it's simple English? I stopped thinking about big words and started thinking about real feelings. If I was excited, I said, "I'm so happy today." If I was tired, I said, "I worked a lot. My body hurts." Simple, real, honest. This gave me emotional fluency, the power to say what I feel, not just what I memorized. Once I started expressing instead of impressing, my fear dropped 50%. I practiced speaking in public, without talking to people. Sounds strange, right? Let me explain. I was scared of talking to people, so I did something smarter. I practiced being around people while speaking, but not directly to them. Here's how I did it. I went to a park and sat on a bench. I wore headphones so people thought I was on a call. And I started talking to myself in English. I described what I saw. There's a man walking his dog. Two kids are playing football. The trees are moving in the wind. The sky looks gray today. No one heard me. No one judged me. But I was speaking English in public. This method slowly trained my brain to be comfortable using English outside my room. I became less afraid of my surroundings. And day by day, I felt braver. After a few weeks, I could talk freely at shops, cafes, and offices, because I had already trained my fear. I created my own mistake-friendly zone. Most people don't speak because they are afraid of making mistakes. So I decided to make a space where mistakes were allowed, encouraged, welcomed. I called it my mistake-friendly zone. Every day, for 15 minutes, I gave myself complete permission to speak broken English. No grammar rules, no corrections, no shame. I just spoke. It sounded like, yesterday I go. I went to market. I bought vegetables. I cooked rice. I didn't stop myself. I didn't judge myself. I just kept speaking. Over time, something amazing happened. I stopped fearing mistakes. I realized that every broken sentence was part of my growth. Every mistake was a step closer to fluency. If you want to speak English without fear, you must create a space where you don't need to be perfect. Just real. I spoke first in every situation. Fear grows when you wait. I used to wait for others to speak first. I waited for the perfect time. I waited for confidence. But I realized that waiting doesn't bring confidence. Speaking brings confidence. So I made a rule. Speak first, always. If I entered a room, I said, "Good morning." If I went to a shop, I said, "Hi, how are you?" If someone looked at me, I smiled and said something. I trained myself to speak before the fear arrived. And that made all the difference. Because once you start speaking first, people respond. And when they respond, you realize nothing bad happens. You don't die. You don't get laughed at. You just become stronger. I visualized myself speaking fluently. Every day, every morning, before I began my routine, I sat quietly for 2 minutes and closed my eyes. And I imagined a moment where I was speaking English fluently. At a meeting, in a cafe, on stage, or on a video call. I imagined my voice being clear, confident, calm. I saw people listening, smiling, nodding. I didn't do this once. I did it every day. Why? Because the brain doesn't know the difference between real experience and imagination. The more I visualized success, the more I believed in it. The more I believed in it, the more I acted like it was possible. And soon, it became real. If you want to kill fear, don't just fight it. Replace it with a bigger vision. I remembered why I started. There were days I wanted to give up. Days when people ignored my words. Days when I felt like my progress was too slow. But on those days, I asked myself one simple question. Why did I start learning English? And every time I answered that question, I stood up stronger. I remembered the job I wanted, the country I wanted to visit, the people I wanted to connect with, the version of myself I wanted to become. When you remember your why, you become braver than your fear. Fear is temporary. but your dream is forever. What you must know now: fear will not disappear by itself. It will not wait for the perfect moment. It will not go away if you keep running from it. You must walk straight into it, with simple words, with broken English, with a shaking voice. But you must walk, because every time you speak in fear, and speak anyway, you become stronger. And the more you do it, the more fear becomes your friend. Speaking English is not about sounding like a native speaker. It's about sounding like yourself, without fear. And that is what I discovered. Not in a classroom, not in a course, but in the mirror, in the park, in real life. After everything I shared with you, after all the routines, methods, mindset shifts, and personal battles, I want to tell you something I didn't understand for many years. Something I wish someone had whispered in my ear the very first day I started learning English. Here it is. Fluency is not a language goal. It is a personal decision. It's the moment you stop waiting. It's the moment you stop saying, "I'll speak when I'm ready." It's the moment you realize that speaking fluently does not begin with grammar, vocabulary, or accent. It begins the moment you decide to stop being afraid of your voice. I didn't become fluent because I found the perfect method. I became fluent because I stopped asking for permission. I stopped apologizing for my mistakes. I stopped hiding behind grammar exercises and waiting for someone to tell me I was good enough to speak. No one ever did. And no one ever will. You are the one who decides that you are ready. You are the one who gives yourself permission to speak. You are the one who carries the key to your fluency. Not your teacher, not your environment, not the country you live in. You. And now I want to talk to you. Yes, you. The person watching this right now. You have studied. You have waited. You have wished. And you've told yourself 1,000 times, maybe one day I'll speak English fluently. Let me be brutally honest with you. There is no one day. There is only today. You will not suddenly wake up fluent after 3 years of watching videos. You will not become confident just by listening passively. You will not find your voice by staying silent. You will speak when you decide that mistakes are allowed. You will speak when you choose to speak with broken grammar and a full heart. You will speak when you finally understand that fluency is not about perfection. It's about connection. People don't care if you make a mistake. They care if you're real. They care if you're sincere. They care if you try. I know this because I was once silent like you. I spent years hiding behind my grammar notes, afraid that people would laugh at me, afraid that my accent was too strong, afraid that my sentences would fall apart. But one day I realized the real enemy wasn't grammar. It was fear. And I chose to defeat it. Not in one day, but every day. I spoke when my hands were shaking. I spoke when my words weren't perfect. I spoke when I wanted to run away. And I spoke even when no one was listening, because I needed to listen to myself. And you must do the same. You didn't come here just to learn English. You came here to become the version of yourself that you've always dreamed of. Someone who speaks freely, confidently, and without fear. And you don't need a perfect method to do that. You need a decision, a commitment. From now on, don't say, "I'm trying to learn English." Say, "I'm training myself to speak, every day in every way." That mindset will change your life. Let me give you the final truths that changed everything for me. 1. Grammar doesn't build fluency. Speaking does. You can spend 10 years studying grammar and still feel afraid to speak. But if you spend 10 days speaking broken English with honesty, you will feel braver than ever. So don't worship grammar. Use it as a tool, not a cage. 2. Confidence is built in silence before it's heard in speech. Before you can speak fluently in front of others, you must speak fluently to yourself. In your room, in your thoughts, in your heart. Speak to your fears. Speak to your mirror. Speak to your future self, because no one can believe in your English until you do. 3. You are already fluent enough to begin. Don't wait until you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Fluency doesn't begin when you know everything. It begins when you say the first sentence. Right now, with what you have. Start with what's broken. Use what's limited. Because that's how every speaker becomes fluent. Not by waiting, but by starting. Your English is not weak. It's just unused. The words are already in your brain. The knowledge is already there. You just haven't used it enough. Fluency is not about downloading more information. It's about activating what you already know. So stop asking, what else should I learn? Start asking, how can I use what I already know today? No one can stop you but you. You may live in a country where no one speaks English. You may have no partner, no support, no teacher. But none of those things can stop you. The only thing that can stop you is your belief that those things matter more than your decision. I had nothing. I was alone. I was scared. And I still became fluent. So why not you? This video is not the end. It's the beginning of a new journey. The one where you stop learning English and start living it. Here's what I want you to do. Speak every day, even if no one listens. Use the mirror. Use your voice. Use your room as your classroom. Repeat sentences until they become your second nature. Record your voice every night, not for the world, but for your own ears. Talk to yourself. Think in English. Say what you feel. Be proud of broken sentences, because they are bricks for your fluency. And most of all, don't give up. Not this time. Fluency doesn't belong to the smartest person. It belongs to the person who refuses to quit. This is the moment you stop waiting and start speaking. Say this out loud. I am not waiting anymore. I am speaking from today. Even if it's not perfect, it will be honest. Even if I'm scared, I will speak anyway. Because my fluency is mine to build, and I'm ready. Say that every day until your voice becomes your power. I know what it feels like to feel left behind, to watch others speak while you stay silent, to feel that you are too old, too slow, too late. But I promise you, you are not too late. Your voice is not lost. It's just waiting for you to believe in it. And when you finally do, when you speak your truth with broken words and a full heart, when you stop being afraid of how you sound, that's the day you will realize you were fluent all along. You just needed to be free. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for walking this journey with me. And now it's your turn, not to keep watching, but to start speaking. Because the next fluency story, the next transformation, the next unstoppable speaker is you. And I believe in you completely. Before you go, if this video touched something inside you, if even one sentence made you feel understood, if even one moment made you say, yes, this is me, then don't let this be just another video you watch and forget. Let this be the video where everything changed. Let this be the moment you stopped waiting and started speaking. Let this be the voice that told you, you are ready. You've listened. You've learned. Now it's your turn to speak, even if your voice shakes. Because your fluency is not hiding in grammar books. It's hiding inside your decision to finally believe in yourself. And if no one else tells you this today, let me be the one to say it clearly. You can do this. You are not too late. You are not too weak. You are not stuck. You are one decision away from becoming everything you dreamed. And from this moment on, you will never again say, I can't speak English. From now on, you will say, I speak. I grow. I become. So, if this journey meant something to you, if it felt honest, if it felt powerful, if it felt like the truth you've been waiting for, then subscribe to this channel. Because we don't just teach English here, we set voices free. And I hope yours is next. God bless your English journey. Now go speak like your future depends on it. Because it does.